Let's go ahead and maybe we'll set up with a bolster to the left side of us. Bolster, a pillow, or even a yoga block if you've got one. Something to sort of catch your leg eventually. And we'll take the belt or a long scarf, whatever you have available. The longer the better. And let's take both feet up in the belt. So, you can run your hands a little lower on the belt. So you can wrap your hands once or twice towards the ends of them so that the arms aren't working too hard. Ideally, you're not so much pulling with your arms, your legs towards you. You're trying to feel your shoulders resting towards the floor. So can you wiggle your shoulder blades, maybe even a little further down your back? And that's going to keep the back of the neck long. Yeah, the head and neck more relaxed. So separate the feet a bit so they're about hip distance apart. And start with your knees bent. Okay, so maybe bent a little more than just bent in a way that reduces the stretch. Okay, so find your inhale with your knees bent. And as you exhale, push down through the back of your pelvis, tailbone moving towards the floor, while you're reaching the heels up into a stretch. So with each inhale, soften, bend the knees, relax the belly, feel the breath move in. As you exhale, keep the pelvis resting, almost pressing into the floor as you stretch through the heels high. So feeling each inhale, softening any grip in those thighs and hips. That's what we're trying to do. So that with the exhale, you try to maintain that softness through your thighs, through your front hip creases, to stretch the heels a little higher. And your legs do not have to go fully straight. So you're just noticing and sensing what range you have available to you this morning with this little sort of clenching in the legs as possible. Yeah, so you might not need to utilize a little more core support here. Feel the backs of your ribs resting into the ground. Feel the width of the belly. Good. Trying to keep the back of the pelvis down while your heels stretch. So this time, let's keep the right leg up in that belt. And we're going to take the left foot. Let's bring the left foot to the floor. So the knee stays bent for now. And we're going to take both ends of the belt into the right hand. So you can wrap your belt, I guess, around your hand a couple times. So you've got a good grip on it. Relax into both shoulders again. I have my hand quite low on the belt so that my elbow can land into the floor, and that's going to provide you a little more support here too. So try to find that. So let's find a bit of movement in the hips. While you inhale, let the right leg, that straight leg, go out to the right, and the left knee bent to the left, yeah? And then with the exhale, bring both legs up, maybe crossing them a little through center. Open with your inhale. Bring the legs back in, crossing with the exhale. So we're moving through each leg at the hip socket where the thigh bone sits into that pelvis. And we're trying to maintain a neutral pelvis, meaning that we're not letting all the weight sort of shift over to the right side when that leg comes out. And so the left leg forms a bit of a counterweight to your right leg. Yeah, and all the while you're going to notice, right, some stretch into the inner thighs, back of the legs. So next time you come into that stretch with the legs away from one another, let's pause into it. See if you can bend a little through this right leg, soften any grip in this right hip and thigh, so that with your exhale, maybe there's more length you can feel as you release some of that grip. So with each inhale, just soften Each exhale, stretch again comfortably. Finding one more full cycle. Great. And then slowly bring the legs back up. And this time, we're going to take the ends of the belt into the left hand. So you can wrap your belt around your left hand. We're going to straighten your left leg along the floor. As you've got hold of the belt in your left hand, take your right thumb into the hip crease. So you can let the knee bend a bit, because if you notice when your right thumb comes into that hip crease, do you feel your hip flexor sort of guy wires poking up? And can you find a bit of softness in that muscle, in that tendon there? Yeah, see if you can just release it a little bit, sort of massaging into that deep crease of the hip with your thumb. Fingers can kind of wrap around to the side of your hip, around to the buttock there, so that you can keep the right hip down onto the floor. We're not going to lift it away from the floor as we just take the leg slightly to the left. You're going to feel likely some intense stretch into your right leg. Could be for you centered around calf or thigh or ankle. So try not to lift the right hip. Press down through the right hip as you're reaching out through the right heel. Spread your toes back towards you. And again, knee can stay a little bent for a comfortable stretch. What's also lovely to do is slow circles in the ankle. So without actually moving the rest of the leg, just try to circle into the ankle and notice how that action in the foot and the ankle kind of changes the stretch down the leg, maybe even, and of course into the foot itself. Yeah, you can go in both directions. Pausing at any point again within that circle where you're like, ooh, yeah, that's a good stretch. Maybe the outer ankle finds a good stretch. Maybe the top of the foot as you point the toes away finds a good stretch. Whatever feels good for you. One more breath there. And then we can take it into the twist. So relax the right arm out to the side, and we're going to try this time to keep the leg as straight as it's comfortable to stay. That knee can start with a slight bend, and you're going to slowly roll over onto your left hip, trying to keep your right shoulder from lifting too much. And this is where the bolster comes in handy. You can bring the bolster even just under the length of the leg. And turn your upper back to the right while your right leg reaches out to the left. So feeling now both legs long from the center. Your bottom leg is long towards the front of your mat as your spine and neck are long to the back. Maybe a gentle turn of your head to the right. And try to maintain a little more length through the heel of your right foot. So as you push the heel away, you're going to notice a little more stretch probably into the calf muscle, the back of the ankle. That's it. Feel the breath there. Slow it down. Nice. We can let go of this belt, bend the right knee, and slowly unwind onto the back again. You can usually reveal a little bit of stiffness coming out of that one. So just take your time to find comfort again here on your back, and maybe take just a moment to find stillness and feel the change in your right leg compared to the left leg. Good. Let's bring the bolster, pillow, or block over to the right side, whatever you're using to kind of catch the other leg now. And let's go ahead and start with both legs once again up in the belt. So as you're resting on your back here, try to get a sense of, the whole length of your spine releasing still within its natural neutral curves. So the idea is to try not to lift your bum up with your legs. So if you notice that, a lot of weight is in the back of your waist, see if you can bring your legs further forward. Yeah, away from your head. You might need to bend the knees a little bit more and feel like the legs are relaxing heavily down into your hips. Thigh bones settle deeper into those hip sockets. And you can feel the back of your pelvis wide and resting into the floor. And ideally, you have just the tiniest bit of curve in the back of your waist between it and the floor. Back ribs resting, shoulders, can they do less so that they land closer to the ground? Neck is long, head is heavy. Feel where the breath moves in. Feel where the breath flows out. Good. Let's keep the left leg up in the belt. Bring the right foot to the floor so you've got that right knee bent. And we'll take hold of both ends of the belt now into wrapping them into your left hand if you like. Keeping the hand low on the belt so your left elbow, upper arm can rest into the floor, and that'll just give you a little more stability here. So we're going to try to move again the legs, moving them wider with your inhale out to the sides, and with your exhale taking it nice and slowly with as much control as you can back up and maybe even across through center. So with each inhale, find the length through the inner thighs. Each exhale, crossing again through center. So the idea, the whole point is not to let your left leg come all the way to the floor. So it's not about how wide even your legs can go. It's just about noticing how far they do go before your whole pelvis might want to shift off balance. So we're going to try to keep the back of the pelvis resting into the ground while this movement, gets more into the hips. Right where the leg bones sit into the pelvis. That's our hip socket. We're moving it. How does it feel on this left leg? Good. Next time you bring your legs away from one another, stretching more through the inner thighs. Feel your right knee reaching out and sort of down while your left leg reaches out and up. That's it. And if you notice a lot of grip going on in your hip, bend the knee a little more. Good. Feel the breath moving in. As you exhale, see if there's any more stretch you can comfortably find. But with each inhale, just feel free to back it up again. Letting the exhale maybe bring you a little more space. Good. One more breath. Nice. And then slowly bring those legs back up. And we're going to take hold of the ends of the belt again, now into the right hand, opposite hand. Left thumb, bring it into your left hip crease. And just notice how this hip crease feels. Is it feeling quite tight under your thumb? What can you do to relax it a little more? Finding a deeper fold in that hip. Let's take the right leg, stretch it long along the floor. And so remember, we're going to try to keep the left buttock, the left side on the ground, while we stretch through the left heel and take the leg just slightly across. So maybe the knee comes in line with the navel or the chest. That's it. Good. How does this side feel? Try to feel your left thigh settling back into that hip while your left heel lengthens away. Really good. And then again, feel free to find slow circles of the ankle. You're basically trying to keep the leg at the same angle as it is as you move more through the foot. How does this side feel as you go in both directions? And maybe pausing where you're noticing tension. Usually for a lot of us, it's that outer ankle. So moving the baby toe side of your foot away from that hip can stretch that. Or keeping the toes pointed and kind of curled away from you will stretch into that tight fascia in the top of the foot and the front of the ankle. Good, or just staying with the foot flexed to get into the back of the leg, which is often tight. So let's take it again into the twist, shall we? So let the left arm rest out, and you're going to slowly let your hip lift to stack above the other hip, resting your leg on the support. If you just have a block, probably under the knees, the best spot for that. So you can keep hold with the right hand now on the belt as you're stretching your heel away. Feel both legs long from the center. Even with that left knee staying a little bent, feel the length through the heel. So you maintain the length into the calf, yeah. And then feel breath moving in, breath flowing out. Comfortable stretch, no force, no strain. So the legs, again, don't have to be fully straight. Good. Let's let go of the belt. Bend the left knee so you can slowly unwind once again here. Whew. And set aside your props. And just once again, find comfort in the center of your mat, noticing how things are feeling for you in your hips, legs, low back.